is a clash you don't want to miss. CalebDOTexe of the Cryoscorches brings the torrential strength of water, taking on ShadyPenguinn, who burns as hot as the blazing fire spirit Vipyro. With 12 new packs to open up, let's see what these casters added to their decks. Caleb hits a nice Earthquake, Veritaqua, Astrabit, and a Holo.
Oh, we got a Holo. Ambrosia. Love to see that. Gorgeous card.
But Shady fared much, much better.
Oh, this is my deck. Oh, Lava Lift!
Let's go!
Oh, I got another foil though. Oh, it's all coming together. It's all coming. Oh! The back-to-back!
This is probably the best set of pulls that you can get for fire. Oh my god.
Talk about huge hits for ShadyPenguinn, Lavalith, and Flammomoth for the Firecaster. This week, Shady opts to trade with teammate Swolex to grab another Lavalith, Chains, and Flammomoth, while Caleb fortifies his strategy with a Locagon and Resting on Your Laurels, two really strong cards for his deck. And with that, Caleb's deck profile features what water is best at, with a little splash of fire and thunder. Locagon makes its debut after that clutch trade, and cards like Galaxy and Dratagua are the ones to watch. These water Elestrals can provide incredible sustain and power. Shady is bringing his two Lavaliths and the power of Kinlio Nexus. Kinlio happens to be one of the best answers to Foamy, so with Earthquakes and Laurels and even those Lavaliths, Shady should have plenty of removal to keep up with the sustain of the water deck. Looks like Caleb won the dice roll and is gonna kick off this clash right here, and he's gonna start off with a Dratagua? No, a Foamy. He grabs the wrong card to start this one and has a nice laugh with ShadyPenguinn. Foamy is going to be a key card for Caleb today because, listen, this card can basically get out any one-cost water Elestral once it's destroyed in battle. We talked a little bit about how Shady has a lot of Elestral removal. Kinlio going to be a key card to watch because it can Nexus spirits around the field and target and destroy Elestrals, effectively nullifying any effects that Foamy would have, and also removing some of those big threats like Galaxy and Dratagua. Shady's going to start this one off with Nectar of the Gods, drawing two cards, and now he gets to cast out a Fire Spirit and his Kinlio. Is he going to have another card to support the Kinlio, like a Hammer Hephaestus, or Volcanic Forge? Any of those would open the door for Kinlio to do its thing, which is to Nexus those spirits around and destroy Elestrals. Really big opportunity for him here, but it looks as though he doesn't have the combo card he needs. Nectar of the Gods didn't make it happen. A lot of times in that scenario, there's some logic to say, you know what, maybe it makes sense to expend to draw as opposed to throwing Kinlio out there. Caleb actually responding with a Warmite by utilizing a handful of fire cards like Warmite and his Nekruff in this clash. He has the opportunity to search those out with the incredibly defensive Smoltuga. So look for him to find that Nekruff later in the clash, as Warmite's able to utilize its active effect to drop the attack of Kinlio down to 0, which means that both Warmite and Foamy can destroy this Kinlio with ease, and Shady can't rely on the super useful tool that is Tsunami here because of Foamy's water enchant. So some pretty interesting plays. Does Shady have to respond? And if he does, he's gonna have to use 2 counter runes to do so. It looks like the Kinlio goes down. In this scenario, as I mentioned, it may just be better to just take the 2 spirits as opposed to having a Kinlio go down. You would have been able to draw an additional card. So some potential thoughts there. Kinlio is a card that you really need to have protection for, and you really need to maximize its effectiveness when it's on the field. If you can do those things, it's very strong. Shady looking like he might be fishing for a Lavalith, which would have been the perfect card to draw into here, but with only 2 in his deck, he hasn't fully optimized across the Elestriad. Look for him to pick up another Lavalith later this season, as that's going to be really crucial for this fire deck to fully get enhanced to its maximum capabilities. Caleb here, he's got his 2 Elestrals on field. Looks like we're having some fun. Shady's going to look through his spirit deck, count and see what he's got. Looks like he's going to take some damage here. A couple hits coming off from Warmite and, of course, Foamy, as Caleb kind of fortifies his strategy here by making sure that he's ready to rock for anything that could come his way. Shady is going to be looking to draw here and pick up his next card. Again, a Lavalith would be so clutch right now, being able to be normal cast out onto the field and destroy a face down rune, but he's going to find Comagma instead. Not a bad pickup. Now that's going to give him the opportunity to draw a card off the top of his deck and discard a card from his hand. Every time Comagma receives a Fire Spirit, you get to activate that effect. So it can be really useful, especially if you can pair it with a Kinlio, so that way you're able to activate multiple effects at the same time. Comagma fires off an attack, most likely into that Warmite. Caleb debates his options here. Is he going to keep Warmite around? No. Yes, he is. He's actually going to go for the Tsunami. Big plays right there. We were just talking about Tsunami and how that card is such a strong counter rune, but it doesn't work against water decks. So, you know, it's generally, if you're Shady, you can't really use it. But now Caleb is able to use that Dratagua we saw in turn 1 accidentally to start to put the pressure on by healing more spirits to his spirit deck. Every time Dratagua receives a water spirit, you get to heal 2. Absolutely incredible. And this is what water does best. We talked about Lakagon a little bit, a brand new water Elestral that can come onto the field, and every time you heal water spirits, you can destroy a card. It can get very strong, and it can be one of the most powerful water cards and just cards in the game in general, but it does need some support around it. Ambrosia's can help it support, but Dratagua is really that key piece because it keeps you in a game for so much longer. Foamy buffed up by this Atlantis, getting +1/+1. Shield of Achilles, gonna bounce it back to the hand. Great use of Shield of Achilles right there from ShadyPenguinn. To me, that's the time you're going to use it because you're able to get that Foamy off the field and force Caleb to have to recast that because you really don't want to let him have that search. Once those searches happen, things can start to get kind of rough. And he's actually going to go and bounce back another Elestral with another Shield of Achilles. Who's getting bounced back here? He played the double Shield of Achilles. It's going to be the Warmite who's going to go back to his hand. So interesting choice there. Dratagua lives to see another day on the field, but does not knock out the Comagma based on its attack stat, unable to get over Comagma. So now Shady's actually in a pretty good spot, but notice the spirit differential here. Caleb still has 16 spirits while Shady is down to 7 as he goes to cast out a new Elestral. It is going to be Smoltuga. Smoltuga is a really, really important piece of a Firecaster's deck, even though it is a Water Elestral. And in this matchup, it could prove to be incredibly effective for Shady, as he's able to search out a second Kinleo at this time. But more importantly, Smoltuga serves as an incredible counter for Galaxy. Galaxy is a card that Caleb can utilize to swap the effects of the stats of Elestrals on the field, and Smoltuga takes advantage of that as well. We're going to see the Comagma take out the Dratagua. Big wins there for Shady, eliminating one of the biggest threats to keep him in this clash, and Smoltuga hits directly. The Warmite comes back out. Is Shady going to have to try to deal with this again? Because Warmite does indeed have the ability to drop the attack of either Comagma or Smoltuga. I almost wonder if he goes after the Smoltuga here, just on the principle alone that it kind of counters his Galaxy in a way, but he does go after the Comagma. That tells me he probably doesn't have Galaxy in his hand, or he feels he needs to get over the Comagma right now because he doesn't have any way to get over it in terms of having a higher attacker. So Warmite kind of serves that role there. Volcari's actually being buffed up by the opposing Warmite. You'll love to see that, and we're going to see the Volcari's take out that Warmite and get it out of the game. So Shady has one less Fire Elestral to worry about. But the downside of that is, you know, he obviously loses the buff on his Volcaris. We're going to see a little bit of damage there. Shady narrowing the gap down to 12 now. 12 to 6 in this one. But Foamy returns to the field on Caleb's end. So Caleb going to be able to set a rune face down. He's got his Foamy. He's going to opt to just pass his turn there. And this is where Shady can make a big play with Kinleo, but opts to go Astrabid instead. That's a bit interesting. He could have had that Kinleo out. He could have been able to Nexus off Volcaris to destroy the Foamy, and then he could have pressed onward, potentially dealing 3 spirits of damage. Obviously, Caleb has the opportunity here to protect himself with that counter rune. We don't know what that is, but he opts to go a different route to try to probably find that Lavalith, if I had to guess. And now he's met with another Dratagua, a defensive threat here. And again, healing up more spirits. So just as Shady was getting closer and closer, Caleb is able to heal up once again with the power of regeneration with Dratagua, and he gets to just pass his turn. Caleb doesn't have to force this. We saw Matt O'Shea and some of the other clashes using his Foamy offensively, pressing it forward to crash into things so that way he can get the next effect off. In this case, Caleb is not doing that. He's opting to just leave his Foamy there and says, hey, you got to deal with this thing.
Let's go ahead and send this into Kinleo.
Sure.
Any response on that?
No, you're good. That's fine.
I'll activate Kinleo and Nexus here. And then I will go ahead and pop the stupid Foamy that it doesn't get. It's only by battle, right?
Yeah, only by battle. It will not float.
Okay, I'm gonna pop him
here. All right.
I just don't want to worry about him anymore.
No,
he's really
that's understandable. I do not blame you for that decision.
Aggravating me. All right, and then I will pass.
Okay, I will draw for turn.
Big plays there from Shady, being able to execute that strategy, going for a nice ascension, and then ultimately nexting over to take out the Foamy. But Unfortunately for him, we're going to see Lakagon arrive. Oh, no. That is not what you want to see if you're ShadyPenguinn. Lakagon getting buffed up from water spirits in the underworld, as well as getting buffed up from the Atlantis, making it actually a pretty strong threat here. I think he's probably sitting at about 7 attack, but the real power that Lakagon brings to this clash right now is if Caleb can activate some healing cards like Ambrosia, he's gonna make this thing do some serious work. It's kind of a catch-22 on this one. Ooh, the Gorgon's Gaze from ShadyPenguinn gonna stop the Lakagon effect in its tracks, but with only 4 spirits left, Shady's in a tough spot as Caleb still does get to activate his Ambrosia and heal up. But like I said, you have to pull the water spirits out of your underworld to heal yourself, activating Lakagon's destruction effect, but also reducing Lakagon's attack stat, right? So there is kind of a caveat to that play that makes it a little bit weaker, but in this case, Caleb just put on so much pressure. He procced the Gorgon's Gaze, he healed up with the Ambrosia, and now he's gonna just pass his turn with 1 back row. Lakagon not looking like it's gonna do a ton in this one right now, as Shady has the perfect setup to have his Kinleo pop off and get rid of it. Here comes a Comagma play from ShadyPenguinn. That is going to allow him to draw again, probably still looking for these. He's actually gonna throw away an Earthquake. He doesn't have enough spirits to use it. With only 2 spirits left, Shady's basically fishing for Ambrosias at this point, understanding that healing up is a top priority for him because he's having a hard time keeping up here. In Elestrals, when you're this far behind, it can be very difficult to come back because, you know, Caleb has so many spirits left. It's not impossible, but it's very, very difficult. Shady's going to need to put on a lot of pressure here. He's going to have to get rid of his Smoltuga to Nexus with the Kinleo to be able to destroy the Lakagon. Now the Kinleo, the Astrabit, everything can press on forward here, but met with a Tsunami. So again, Caleb has to just pay 1 spirit here to prevent what looks like 5 or 6 spirits of damage, and that sets Shady back so far because now he's got to basically wait another turn to be able to try to press forward, and every time he does that, it costs him more and more spirits.
Favorite human.
And I will go ahead and I'll go to battle phase, and I will declare into the Kinleo. Is a 3/4 at the moment.
But I'm committed to playing poorly this week, so we're gonna play Gaze
All right,
on the attack
all right.
declaration.
Sounds good. I will pass that.
Cool. Draw. Ambrosia! Nope, that's not.
Shady not finding Ambrosia once again, but stopping the Foamy from taking out his Kinleo. Does have some flexibility here to, again, go for that Nexus play, but Caleb sitting at 12 spirits is going to make this pretty tough for Mr. Penguinn. He's definitely going to be fishing out that Ambrosia, and Foamy seems to be giving him some headaches and nightmares, despite having a very good counter on the field. Going to go for the Earth Spirit onto the Rabbit, ascending into a Volcaries. An interesting play there from Shady. That's going to give him this Volcaries that is buffed up, but then he's going to Nexus from Kinleo onto the Comagma. That's a really solid play. That's going to give him an open field. He's going to be able to hit for quite a few spirits here this turn. Potentially what looks like 5 spirits or so into Caleb, and now he's just hoping that he's not going to have any sort of answers for this offensive onslaught. But again, Shady down to 0 spirits. It's important to note that in Elestrals, you don't actually lose the game when you have 0 spirits. You lose the game if you have 0 spirits and you have to expend another spirit, whether it be to pay a cost or something like that. You can't activate it, your opponent tries to burn you with Eruption, whatever it may be, or you get attacked and take that damage. But Shady can still win this game, right? He still has the opportunity here to draw into Ambrosias and play some of the spirits on his Volcaries or his Comagma to use them to cast that Ambrosia, heal up to 3, and make a push here. This is going to really rely on what Caleb's next turns are going to look like. I don't think Shady's totally out of this. If Caleb doesn't have counter runes, this could be bad. We've got the Galaxy coming out. That is a really, really strong Elestral right now to come out at this point of the clash. Galaxy does swap the attack and defense stats of all water enchanted Elestrals, which means it's not a 2/5. It's actually a 5 attacker with 2 defense, which means that it attacks over Kinleo, it attacks over Comagma. It does attack over Volcaries right now as well, because Volcaries doesn't have a fire spirit. I would imagine Caleb goes after Necruff, and that's exactly what he's going to do here. This isn't over, though. Shady, if he draws into an Ambrosia, he can play it off of the spirit on his Comagma and then use a fire spirit on Volcaries to properly enchant it and get enough power to attack over the Galaxy. Can he do it? He's got one opportunity to make it happen. He's going to set 2 counter runes face down and prepare his turn. He cannot attack forward, though, because He's not able to overpower the Galaxy, and this could be the opening that Caleb's looking for to get either another Dratagua out or something else stronger. It's going to be a Misenchanted Astrabit. That is another 5 attacker under the condition of Galaxy. And now Shady has but one hope, and that is that he can play Gorgon's Gaze utilizing the spirits on the Comagma to potentially turn off Galaxy's effect and get a surprise KO. But the Ambrosia comes down again from Caleb, further lengthening this gap that Shady is trying to climb back on. He does still have a way to win this, but it is starting to get slimmer and slimmer every single play that Caleb makes as he further emphasizes this strategy that he has, unleashing one of his strongest Elestrals here at the end of the game with Galaxy and Astrabit Misenchanted. Huge plays right there. Shady does have the Gorgon's Gaze. Wait a minute. He has exactly what he needs. He can pull those 2 spirits off of his Elestrals. He's going to grab it from there. That is going to turn off Galaxy's effect. Let me explain this. He's actually going to knock out the Astrabit and hang in for one more turn. Needs an Ambrosia and gets an Elechick. Wow, it doesn't work that well out for him. I just want to touch on that Gorgon's Gaze play here in a second, but ShadyPenguinn so close there at the end, almost pulls it off, but Caleb sustained with his water deck is just too good there. Gorgon's Gaze can be played in both the attack step and the battle step, and in this context, you play it in the battle step to suppress and shut off the effect of Galaxy, reflipping those stats back and ultimately resulting in the Astrabit crashing into the Comagma there and being destroyed. Very cool play by Mr. Penguin, but not quite enough. Make sure you guys stay tuned for tomorrow's clashes and head to shopelestrals.com to pick up some sweet Elestral stuff.